Hi! We live in hell, but at least everything is being tracked by rich tech companies. Also, I have this cool hat.
If you care at all about the ways you're being tracked online and offline, stick around for your daily charge.
Good morning and welcome to the Daily Charge. It's Thursday, January 30th. I'm Alfred Ng.
And I'm Bridget Carey.
And here are today's headlines. Let's start off with the truth about being online. Everywhere you go will leave a footprint, and your simple act of existing anywhere is something that advertisers and companies look to make money from. Now that's starting to happen offline too. We have a story today about Crowdsourcing, an automatic license plate reader company that sells its technology to landlords and police departments. They started offering the surveillance tools to your next door neighbors. ALPR is a really powerful tool. It's mostly used by police. Now, this is something that can be used for criminal investigations or in some cases, for police to commit crimes. In 1998, a Washington, D.C. police officer pleaded guilty to extortion after looking up license plates near gay bars and blackmailing the car owners.
That's awful.
Yeah, they misuse technology. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Think of this like facial recognition for cars. These cameras can pick up 60 license plates a second and log them all down. This used to cost thousands of dollars. Now your nosy neighbor can buy it and keep track of cars in the area for $5 a month.
You know, obviously technology has always been out there for people to spy on each other. But this is just making it clear how easy it is to automate that spying. You know, what are you getting for $5 a month? I mean, you're not getting a list of every name of the car owner who drives by your house.
No, yeah, I mean, you would need to have access to a police database of like, the DMV database. So, oh, this license plate belongs to this person. But there's still a lot you can do with information on just how often a car drives in your neighborhood, right? Like, so if a car drives by, and I log its plate down and I put it in my system to tell me every time this car drives by, then I don't have to just put that camera by my home, right? I can put that in the case with the Washington, D.C. thing, I can put that camera by like
in your car,
yeah,
like driving around somewhere, anywhere. Really.
I could put it by, like a Planned Parenthood, for example, and then then you would know, oh, this person like came here at this time, and then I would be able to like follow them home, and then there's a lot of ways to identify people like without a police like database to do it.
Even if someone like is doing this in their own like property, you wonder, okay, where's that data going? Where's it being shared with? Did they click a checkbox saying, yeah, sure, I'll share my data with anyone who wants it, and it's being sold to other people? So it's weird.
So the company behind it says that they don't sell data, but
did they work with police, departments?
So that's the thing. They work with police departments, and if you have a different version of their license plate reader technology, you can opt in to share that data with police. But also, like, consider that most of the times, like, sharing any information with police, like, might not be under like your call, right? Like, if a cop shows up at your door and says, hey, we need to know when this car drove by here, can you put it in your log and let us know? Like, you're going to tell a cop to get off your property? Like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
So that's like the bigger concern here, and that's something that they've talked about where, yes, that is something that like police might be able to do where, let's say, officers like just make a call out to a neighborhood and say, we're looking for this car. Can you put this number in your license plate search and send us anything that you have? Like, they don't have to buy that technology now they can just kind of rely on like everyday average citizens to use that and then like basically crowdsource it.
Yeah, it's just so easy now. You just know that there is no, right, like you said at the beginning, no sense of privacy, and you don't know what your neighbors have.
Yeah. Also, you wouldn't know if you were being tracked. It's not like you can say, hey, please take me off your list. You'd have no idea if you were on someone's list to begin with.
The lack of control is what is feeling unsettling.
Yeah. So to our next story. Avast, not just a phrase for weirdo pirates, also a free antivirus company. You might have heard of them or might even use them. Well, there's a good reason why it's free, or terrible reason, depending on your perspective. As Motherboard and PC Mag unveiled this week, Avast has been collecting people's browsing data and selling it for millions under its data broker subsidiary, JumpShot. Today, the company announced that it would be shutting down JumpShot after the massive backlash over its invasion of privacy. The company was worth tens of millions of dollars as sensitive data like your browsing history goes for big bucks. I mean, I guess it's good that they chose privacy over profit, but, maybe the right thing to do was to, never have done this in the first place, or, maybe not wait until you were caught to fix it.
Yeah, clearly the latter, because they made some statement going, we abided by all the laws of GDPR. Well, if you abided by laws and suddenly you're taking it down, I think, something ain't right about it.
I mean, I've also heavily disagreed with the idea that, like, just because you're abiding by a law means that, you're doing the right thing. There are plenty of laws out there that are unfair that you should absolutely break, but also there are no laws on things that are completely unfair. As I had mentioned, there are almost no laws on facial recognition.
Right.
There are almost no laws on data privacy stuff.
And what can be collected and shared, right?
Yeah, and GDPR is completely different. Look, if you're offering an antivirus and you are in turn using the data that you're collecting to sell for millions,
it's backwards ethics here. It's exactly what people were trying to avoid when they bought your product.
Basically, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's ethical, and I think that's to say that we followed the rules is not a defense. Speaking of laws, last night Facebook settled to the fine tune of $550 million over an Illinois class action lawsuit concerning facial recognition. If you're wondering why it was in Illinois, it's because it's the only state with any laws about biometrics. Facebook had been collecting facial recognition data to tag people in photos. That's kind of how when you look at a photo of yourself, it says, hey, this is you. Like, they used facial recognition data for that, which plaintiffs argued was breaking Illinois state law. Facebook finally made that collection an opt-in in 2019 when the case had been going on since 2015. So the settlement still needs to be approved by a judge.
I was telling you before the show, I was shocked that it took that long to be opt-in, because I've gone through my settings so long ago and just X that all out that I forgot that for a lot of people, they don't realize, it was just automatically still doing it all this time.
Yeah, I yell about this a lot with the difference between opt-in and opt-out, privacy policies, where if you have to go to your settings and change all this, it might seem like the company just doesn't care about your privacy to begin with. They can say, we offer these controls, but how much does it really matter if you have to basically jump through all these hoops to actually get that?
Yeah. Do you have 20 minutes to sit here with the cartoon dinosaur and do a checkup on your privacy? I feel like I'm so annoyed every time.
It's just imagine going to a mall and you someone follows you around all the time, and then you have to walk to the back of the mall to tell them, hey, I don't want this guy following me. Yeah. That's kind of what opt out has kind of been for me, where it's look, you should have privacy to begin with, and if you want somebody to follow you, go to the back of the mall and say, hey, I would like somebody tailing me. That should be how it works, not the other way around where you have to do the extra legwork to ensure that you're not being tracked or your face data isn't being used to make Facebook millions of dollars.
It's been messed up for so long.
Speaking of which, if you're wondering how this all affects Facebook's profits, let me tell you, not at all. Facebook reported its earnings for 2019 on Wednesday night, and everything is coming up Zuckerberg. Its monthly active users grew to 2.5 billion people, and it had a profit of $18 billion in 2019. Privacy. What a concept.
People just don't care. It's the truth. But it's a utility. People need to still be on Facebook, even if they do care. Maybe not everyone's leaving or using it in different ways.
It's just we built all of this on the foundation that there is no privacy, or at least these companies did, and it almost feels like to change that you have to completely rebuild how the internet works, which is just not going to happen at this point. So, I mean, this is a pretty loaded show with a lot of gloom and doom as regards to our future as a peaceful society. But what has been your takeaway so far? Sound off in the chat and on Twitter or Periscope so we can keep the conversation going.
First comment's coming in from Periscope, and it's a newbie. This is coming from Boss Maynelik, I think that's how you pronounce it. And it just says,
Boss baby.
It just says, this is disgusting. I really hope that's in reference to the topic and not our show. The next comment is from Kiki on Twitter. She says, hell no, who's watching the companies watching the people? The people seriously think that these companies aren't going to sell your info like on Facebook? GTFO. Matthew Datcher asks, am I part of the problem because I own a Ring? As in a Ring doorbell, that is.
Well, you can opt out.
Well, All right, so
All right, we're gonna get you started.
I've had a lot of bar arguments about this. So here's the thing: I don't think anyone should consider themselves a problem by any means. I think it's wrong to blame average people for participating in an infrastructure or a society that like these rich like tech companies have really like built up, right? Like you can't say
it shouldn't be like you don't know how to use technology, right?
Like you can't tell somebody like it's your fault for giving up your privacy when all they did was download a weather app, right? Like when you download a weather app which sells your location data, which it does, you shouldn't blame somebody who's like, I can't believe you got tricked into doing that. Well, no, like the fact is people should be able to look up the weather without having information on them, harvested. You should be allowed to exist without like being watched. Here's the thing though about Ring cameras is that even though like you want to, I understand if you're worried about thieves or like break-ins in your house and you want to, have a view of your front yard or your doorstep, whatever. The concern that a lot of people have raised is that that's not the only thing within that view. And for all the people that walk by your house, which is a public street, they're captured on your footage at all times. And they've never given consent to that. And you can do whatever you want with that footage. And so imagine if somebody sets up a camera right in front of your house at all times. It's a public street. They're allowed to do that. And they capture every time you come in and out of your house. They capture when your friends come over. Like, even though it's not on your house, like the camera's not on your house, it's facing your house, right? Mm-hmm. So like that's the kind of world that we're building with Ring cameras everywhere or any video doorbell where it's essentially you are being watched at all times and there's always going to be like footage of it. And that's just not a place that I want to live in, like mm-hmm. if my neighbor across the street put a Ring camera there or any camera, sorry, I don't want to single out Ring, but like if my neighbor across the street put a camera there, they wouldn't just capture like a thief, most like unless they're getting robbed at every hour of the day, like they wouldn't just capture thieves. They would capture me coming home every day. And like they would capture me coming home at like, they would like, cause Ring sometimes gives you alerts when mm-hmm. like something passes by. Most of the times it's like a cool, like raccoon or something. And people's like, check out this funny animal on my steps.
Yeah.
They would, so you would get an alert every time, right? What if I come home one day at like 5 a.m., drunk out of my mind? Now that's footage that
There's
my neighbor...
a record somewhere of it, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah,
right?
Now my neighbor has like that video because they would get the alert of it. It's like, hey, something moved in front of your camera. And it's like, oh, well, Alfred had a fun time yesterday. And like, they know that now. Like, that's so weird.
If privacy becomes a selling point, which it is for Apple and others, if privacy is a selling point and starts to turn into a luxury, when will it start to affect home prices? When I go into a neighborhood and I'm like, ooh, I could be private in this neighborhood? I wonder how long it'll take.
That's kind of how it is already. Like, that's what celebrity communities are. That's what Calabasas is.
But they like cameras too. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think that a neighborhood would be more expensive when it's like, oh, we have like no cameras here.
I don't know.
Like,
I'm just thinking about weird future stuff
because like that's what gated communities are. That's like privacy, right? Like all the celebrities live in one neighborhood for that reason. But yeah, I don't think you're part of the problem. I think the companies behind these products are part of the problem, and I think the way that they market these things are part of the problem.
It's irresponsible sometimes.
Yeah, just because, like, look, like they and they use these footage for like their marketing. They're like, hey, check it out. This lady left like some snacks for her delivery person, and he's really happy about it. Isn't that awesome? And it's just that's surveillance, man. Like the guy should just be doing his like. He
just wanted to live. He didn't want to be part of some commercial.
Yeah, let the dude eat snacks in peace and not be a part of your viral moment.
Yeah, why does someone else's kid getting your Halloween candy like suddenly ends up in like some social media marketing?
Yeah. It's gross.
Here's a really great question coming in from Periscope from KB Fitness Script. I think that's the name. You guys with your names, I tell you. Do you have any recommendations on cameras that do not store data to the cloud?
We got a bunch of people who review that stuff, but I don't think on top of my head I have that.
I mean, honestly, the closest I can get to that is like make your own like home server for that.
There's
kind
really
of thing.
Great tutorials out there on how to turn like your old phones into like home security cameras, right?
Yeah. I mean, like that would still be a cloud because it's like your home server, and it would obviously you need a lot of storage for that kind of thing unless you're constantly deleting it. But
Right, like how much do you want to store or just check
Yeah.
in on it, right?
Yeah, but I also just would
or
not.
just get motion alerts. Like you could do these things without a camera. You could have motion alerts and have a text, and then like go into the camera when you want to see what happened.
I would also just not recommend any cameras, just because like I said, I think this culture of like needing to watch your doorsteps at all times is like really weird. Like I used to consider getting a indoor camera for like our cats when they were really small, and I was worried about them, but I kind of realized if I did that, I would just be worrying all the time. Like, I don't know. I've never used a baby monitor, so I'm kind of hoping like.
No, I went with the unconnected baby monitor. I just wanted to like so it's just connected by the room. It's nothing I can access online or any footage is downloaded. It's just real time. I'm in my bedroom. They're in their bedroom. Oh, hi. They're still alive. Great.
Yeah, but if you had one on your phone, like I feel like you'd be watching that like all the time, right?
And I felt like it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, and that's like the mindset that I feel about like video doorbells or any kind of like camera facing like the street or anything like that, where it's just like, look, most of the times like bad things are not happening. The reason why people think bad things are happening all the time is because these companies make commercials saying bad things are happening all the time.
There are cases where it's great, like if you have a babysitter you don't trust, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to speak for everyone, but this is, I don't know, or a dog sitter, you want to check up that it's working out with them. I don't know.
Yeah, and then if you get a video camera, like a doorbell, like I'm sorry, it doesn't have to be just any kind of surveillance camera, that doesn't prevent the crime. If any, like it'll help with the investigation, but if anything, you just get a nice souvenir of your car, like video of your car getting broken into.
Here's a really great conversation piece. Comments coming from Eric, who says a lot of police departments already have plate scanners. All they have to do is drive by your car, and the field unit can check for anything with your registration. And he says, come back with a warrant. Nice. Follow up to that, Timothy's asking, is there any kind of, is crowdsourcing the next thing for authorities? And when I'm digging through these comments and thinking about this stuff, all I can think of myself is, you remember the scene from The Dark Knight when like Batman's got the scanner?
Yeah.
And like Lucius Fox is using all of the cell phones to like skim the area, and they've got that full readout. That's what that feels like right now. To a lesser extent, but largely a lot
they
the
were
same.
onto something there.
Yeah. Crowdsourcing is going to become a huge thing for police officers as everything becomes like more connected now. I mean, they're already using Ring cameras to help like get footage of crimes, and to be fair, it does solve like crimes, as do like license plate readers. I think the issue is more about how a lot of this can be abused, and especially with license plate readers. You're right that like police have had access to this for a while, but I think the difference comes when now it's coming into the hands of like the average person.
And you can't always trust them. No, people take things too far all the time, and it just makes it just realize that the tools that you trusted with authorities are now so easy to get. It's $5 a month.
And here's the thing, like if a cop misuses like a surveillance tool that the city paid for with taxpayer money, there can be like court hearings about that. There can be regulations on that, and they can say, hey, we're not using this anymore as an organization.
What about Bob next door, though?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What is city council going to do to your next door neighbor that like has been calling you all the time and saying, hey, your party's too loud. It's 8:00 and I'm trying to go to sleep. Now, like if there's these kinds of surveillance tools at their hands, there's like so much that they can do with stuff like that. There was another case around, I think it was 2012 or 2013, where the NYPD had been logging license plates of cars like parked outside of mosques because they were tracking like Muslims in New York City. Like this is used for like profiling, and like ICE was using license plate trackers to locate and track immigrants like moving throughout a city. It's just, there's so much to this that like, look, like government agencies already use it to a massive degree, and now this is coming into the average person's hands where they have no control over it. There's no regulation, and it's just, okay, cool, like this is gonna be a fun thing for like my neighborhood now.
We got a few minutes left, so let's see how many more we can cram in. Really great questions and comments coming in from everybody. The next one I want to take is from Goddamn Gonzo, which I still love your name, man. Since there's barely any law on facial recognition, do you think each state is going to allow to go and follow in footsteps of Illinois and start implementing their own laws?
So there have been laws, but like they're more like ordinances because they're like specifically within cities. So San Francisco, Oakland, I forget the name of the town, but it's in Massachusetts. They all have ordinances that say that government agencies can't use facial recognition anymore, which is great. Here's the problem with that. That's only for government agencies, which means that, businesses, company like Clearview, they can all still use facial recognition. There's no problem with that. Casinos can all still use it. I wish I wish our federal government were better at passing a nationwide law, but it does seem to be that's the way that it's going right now, where each state is going to have to pass their own law, where it's going to be different in each state, and like you won't know where you have the rights to protect your biometrics or not. And also, like, the only laws that have really passed so far are about government use, because obviously, like, there is a major concern around that, but you also have to consider like businesses using it. Where it's the same thing with Avast, it's the same thing where like once the laws come into place about banning facial recognition, but for government only, all these companies are going to be still using it and saying, we followed the laws, which like doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Next one's coming in from Ryan. Should I be concerned that my Google Photos knows my daughter from the day that she was born right up until now at the age of 3? I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
I struggle with this one. Yeah, I think about that too, because obviously I'm keeping a record with a big company, and they have a lot to lose if they mess it up. But right, there is data out there, and it's really weird when it's little kids involved.
I don't think you should be look, if this was a smaller company, I'd say like there's a very good chance of a data breach there. Not saying that Google can never be breached, but like, I think with all these major tech companies, like signs of a breach or a leak are like really not all there, because they pay like millions of dollars to keep that secure. Again, not saying that couldn't happen,
but it's more about just the idea of like, okay, I'm giving like this little kid like info to a giant corporation. It's just a weird feeling, but the security is there, right?
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, people like to conflate privacy and security sometimes, where they're like there's two separate things. So like, while I think the security is there from Google, your privacy concerns are like very warranted, where like, look, like Google knows that you have a kid. Google knows that like, they know how to advertise to you based on that, right? Like, I don't know how many ads now for like baby products you get
all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, come see, Elmo on Ice or whatever, like they just know I'm a parent, right?
So like that's like the bigger concern, is that like the simple act of like having a kid and your kid existing and you wanting to take a photo of that is like a flag for Google to say, hey, let's sell her stuff now.
But I got to live my life. It's too difficult to back up things sometimes when you're busy. And so you go with products like Google. You're like, well, if I'm going to dive in, I'll do the iCloud costs. And then you're like, okay, well, at least Google's free. And then, you don't want to lose these photos. And so you make these deals.
Matthew Datcher does point out that it's kind of a weird time in history, since kids nowadays will never know not being constantly under surveillance, or not constantly being surrounded by information that somebody else has on them that they didn't volunteer.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they're born into it, and like I from what I understand, like younger people like care a lot less about privacy issues because of that, because they're like, yeah, of course they take our data. Like, what's the problem with that? The other weird thing though is like childhood experiences being like churned into content by like mommy vloggers or whatever, like parent vloggers, where like there was a column in the Washington Post a few months ago where like this girl who like turned 15 or so like found her mom's blog from like when she was a kid, and so there was all this stuff about like, oh, my daughter's like being real whiny today, and she went to her room and cried, and it's just like, Mom, this is like my life experience, and you're just like putting it out to the whole world. I think like she also talked about like a crush with her mom at the time, and like her mom just vlogged it. Very cool, great parent. I saw something yesterday about like, how there's like unboxing videos on YouTube and like reaction video stuff. There was one where it was like reaction to my son's report card, like in person.
I didn't want to click on that, but I
so
saw,
gross.
I saw that being shared.
It's disgusting. And it's just like, yeah, that's what like reality is for kids now.
I think they're going in knowing that you have to respect the privacy because everything's going to be shared, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like it's like they're being in a world where my data's being tracked, but mom and dad, come on, have some class about it.
Yeah, and then there was that dude that like he lost his kids over this, which he absolutely should. Where I think it was called like Daddy of Five or something, like the YouTube channel, where they did like the typical YouTuber prank stuff, but like to their kids. So it was like, hey,
That was
like
so gross.
we're throwing out your PlayStation, and like the kids like cry a whole bunch, and they're like, no, it's just a prank for YouTube, haha. And like they lost their kids over that, which they absolutely should.
And those kids are scarred for life.
Yeah, so
They're
congratulations. This like, yeah, the surveillance and privacy on the internet does a lot of really bad things.
I'm not going to name the culprit here, but I do know somebody who has a kid who has watched so much YouTube that they think that like and subscribe is part of the regular lexicon. So like when they say goodbye or good night, Daddy, I love you, like and subscribe.
That
I'm
rules.
I'm not exaggerating in
so
the least. That is a
cool.
100% true story. I don't want to throw my friend under the bus, but yes, that has happened.
Kids do pick up on weird things, and
I mean, of course they're going to. So you got to laugh this off and kind of let that one roll.
they'll learn.
Yeah, I used to think Gogurt was a real word. Like I put that, like this was like first grade, and we had like an like just an alphabet test where it was like just put a word next to each letter that you know. I put like Gogurt for G, and the teacher's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's Gogurt." So I guess it's similar.
Now I want Gogurt. Okay. Do you see the ripple effect resulting for the Facebook Illinois case that other states will in fact wind up following suit?
No, because there are no laws in other states. If there were, maybe.
But I mean, if they're setting an example,
folks are going to look closely when we start talking more about breaking up big tech and like if there should be more regulation.
There is actually another lawsuit going on in Illinois currently where they're suing Amazon over kind of the same thing. Over so like Amazon Web Services, they like are a cloud server that host a lot of the internet. Like Netflix is on it. I believe Apple Music might be on it, something like that, or like but like AWS hosts like a big chunk of the internet.
Yeah.
So they're being sued currently over the same law because a lot of facial recognition companies use AWS.
Interesting.
So they're saying like, hey,
how much is Amazon responsible for that?
You're
right?
hosting all of this stuff, and we never gave our permission to be in these databases. We're suing. So that case was filed in November, and it's still going on currently.
Yikes, man. Okay, we're just about out of time. I want to try to end on a positive note. It's been pure gloom and doom here today. But
Alfred's good at that.
That's my theme.
Here's your homework assignment, everybody. Tweet at us any caught on camera moments, whether it happened to you or maybe a friend or maybe you found it. Share them with us. Gina on Periscope says, I have Ring and Blink, and I have caught the garbage men drinking booze. You know what? Good for them.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Nothing. But they're
As long as
saying
they're not driving the truck.
instead of like everybody spying on everybody, it's like, oh, we kind of caught you doing something. Let's try to keep it lighthearted. Ryan also says, I like my video doorbell for the fact that I know who's coming and going in the house, but now when my kids get older, they won't be able to sneak in anymore, and that's a situation that I think we can all sympathize with.
There's a video around Christmas time where this like older sister came back from college or something like that, and her younger sister was like still in school and sneaking out and stuff, and she's like, haha, I got my parents a Ring camera so my little sister can't sneak out anymore. And the little sister like breaks out in tears. She's like so upset about it and stuff, and the parents and all like, what a great time. And it's just like, look, like kids sneak out, like just let them have fun. What are you doing? This is like, don't stop narking your family.
This is
You're gonna get busted sooner or later, let's be honest. Okay, I think that's a pretty good place. But yeah, I still want you guys to tweet at us if you have any experiences where it's like funny caught on Ring, caught on Blink, caught on security camera kind of stuff, just to try to take the edge off, and it'll be something to kill some time this weekend. But hey, that was a really good show today. Alfred, I'm really glad you brought that to the table here today. And we'll have a great weekend, everybody. Yan, stay safe. Everybody else out in China, and you stay safe. And take care. We'll see you on Monday. Alfred?
Yeah, thanks for watching. For the new viewers out there, we're live weekday mornings, and we're always hoping to grow our audience and learn more about what you guys are interested in. Please subscribe and ring the bell to join us each and every show. We're also available on the go. Links to the audio podcast are in the descriptions below. For The Daily Charge, I'm Alfred Ng.
I'm Bridget Carey.
Thanks for joining us.